So were the two of you individually separated because of this bifurcation that took place with the two 6-man
there's
teams?
where the split is.
Okay.
I had a little different mission.
Okay,
that
what was
nobody
your-
really seen in the mission in the movie or anything. I was what they were called the Commanders in Extremis Forces. We were basically the ninjas in the night. And as Bob's team would start pushing Al-Qaeda leaders and generals off the battlefield, we would visit them at night and give them special kisses and hugs.
Oh, yeah?
And what it was the Taliban started thinking their leaders were abandoning them and they were cowards. So it's part of that total battle that you really don't understand and the enemy didn't understand. But, there are creatures that go bump in the night. And so none of us knew what the other teams were doing in case we were captured. Right, and interrogated.
Smart.
So,
Obviously.
we were occupying behind the lines. We were creeping and crawling. Bob's team was, once again, efficiently just battlefield tactics, using cavalry to position and maneuver against the Taliban. In the middle of the night, when they go back and plan and coordinate, we would hit them very quickly, almost like a midnight raid, and then just keep
But in
going.
a sense, his teams were used as a diversionary tactic, because as the Taliban were smart enough to push communications all over, just like the Northern Alliance was. So they're telling them, hey, we're getting hit down here, we're getting hit down here, we're getting hit down here. So they were hitting them down south while we were doing our operations up north.
So they would prepare for more down south.
So that's
and
what
the
people.
big hit was up
It's a lot
north.
of things
Okay.
people don't know about that.
So you're a diversionary, kind of a terrorist of your own.
Terrorize the terrorists, right? Let's get all Sun Tzu with it.
Hey,
right?
fire with fire, bro.
Yeah.
Was
And-
there any firefights at night, or were those mostly recon missions for you
Oh,
guys?
there was lots of firefights at nights. There was lots of joyous victories. There were some hand-to-hand battles, right? When you get up very close with each other, especially, we're all kitted out with night vision goggles and lasers, and you've got people that just don't expect that to be the front lines. And so they were safe and secure, and then all of a sudden in comes, some ninjas in the middle of the night.
You're the boogeyman.
How many? You would roll into you would roll into like an entire village?
Anywhere from, so different compounds. So, we're very precise like a scalpel. So anywhere from, 20 guys against 20, Taliban leaders, whatever the mission called for, all the way up to 60. And there for a while, we started adding the Canadians and all the other countries that started coming in. So, special operations are special missions. And in the special missions, you have unconventional warfare, which is what Bob's teams did. You'd have special reconnaissance, which is small teams hiding on a cliff, looking for miles. And then you have direct action, right? And that direct action, you can go from raiding a bridge or taking over a dam or something or you can go right in to find that one person, kill and capture.
Wow.
And so
Were
it
you
was
guys ever gathering intel on the whereabouts of Bin Laden? And if
All
so,
the time.
Every day. And if so, how
Every day,
close did you feel you were to his whereabouts at any time?
Well,
Saddam was still.
we actually thought he was up in the Bolt Valley because we were told. And as we moved up through the Dar Yusuf and into
Layman's terms, what does that mean?
Dar Yusuf is a valley of the caves.
That's on the northern side or the southern?
It's on the northern side.
Where you were?
Yeah,
where you
that's
were.
where we were.
Okay.
Yeah, we kind of made our way up that into Mazar
All right.
Sharif.
Okay.
And off to the west was the bulk area, and we had actually information that we thought that Bin Laden was there.
Yeah, it's where's Waldo.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you had to.
You
a
get
lot
it
of
all the
people-
time.
Yeah. So you have to decipher all of that, and that's where the intel services come in, and it's just the massive amount. Imagine just giving each one of you a piece of a jigsaw puzzle, and you have to describe it to each other.
No thanks.
Right, and try to get the picture. So you just had to break a lot of eggs and put things together, and then finally you had Tora Bora, which was the cave complexes right before Pakistan and what went on there. And literally, you think about it, in 90 days, 90 Green Berets, other special operators had just overtaken the country like that. High five, we're done. Take your country back. See you later.
Was this by far like the first time that American Special Forces element had fought in this manner?
No.
Okay, so this was no this
recent
wasn't
history
like,
though. Obviously.
And no, I mean, talk about recent history. So, recent history, 40 years, you started with the Iranian hostage rescue and that attempts to go into another country. You go into fighting the FARC in Colombia. to in El Salvador and Nicaragua and the jungles of Panama. Panama itself, was really fought by Green Berets in the back, areas of there. Then you get into Haiti. Then you get into Somalia. It was actually Green Berets sitting on the beach welcoming the Marines and SEALs who, Hollywooded it in that day.
So what people don't know is So what people didn't know was that you guys were selected because you had been doing this all along. It just wasn't part of something that had gathered so much public attention.
Right now, in over 50 countries at any one time, there's a team of SEALs or Green Berets. You know what I mean? Taking care of things, either escalating, de-escalating, training other nations. Doing some type of a mission every day. It goes on, and some of the things will never be known ever. And some things, finally spilled where you just can't contain it anymore. And then, even though we're not there anymore, guess who's left behind? So small teams, do you know what I mean? Keep the relationship. Just like Iraq, you see ISIS now. You see the Philippines, right? And what's going on in Indonesia. You got Sri Lanka, what just happened. So I guarantee you there is some small team just like this room right here of people asked to sort it out.
And that's what makes us different is when we go into these countries, we build personalities. We've got a cultural understanding. We're in there so long that these people, they hate for us to even go. So we stay for an extended amount of time just to understand.
Well, tell them about Uzbekistan before even 9/11.
Oh yeah, and that's when we went into Uzbekistan. That was a good trip. That was in 2000. Yeah, I mean it was good on many accounts. But
okay, how so?
What were you there for?
All right.
What were you there for? What happened? How do we?
Hey,
That's Russian, right? They're speaking Russian over there.
But 2000 we went into Uzbekistan and we actually trained a company of airborne Spetsnaz, the Russian special forces. So we trained them, and during our time that we trained them, they were actually the country itself had a Islamic movement of Uzbekistan, the IMU, which was Al Qaeda, actually in their back door, and they were setting up base camps. So the unit we trained actually went into combat at the time we were there. So we were begging our guys, "Hey, can you please let us go in here and help fight them?"
Yeah.
And at that time, we didn't really get into those kinds of scrapes. So they were like, "No." And it was the defense attaché that wouldn't let us go there because he thought it would, trigger off some international incident.
Which happened anyway. Yeah.
Basically happened anyway.
Right.
But our guys at SOC sent down in Florida, they were all, go. You guys go, go do that voodoo that you do so well.
The amount of freedom, it sounds like, that is bestowed upon the Green Berets is something I assume it's a lot of pressure. I mean, because international tensions could flare up at any given point. Uzbekistan, all those places. Is that something that you have to prepare for? Obviously, like, hey, if we step on any toes here, there could be a big fucking problem.
Absolutely.
So like we talked about, a sergeant, a special forces sergeant, either goes through communication, AM, FM, Morse code, high frequency, antenna theory, all of those skills. The special forces commander, the captain, goes to the CIA, goes to Department of State. He goes through all the different agencies to build relationships, because that's where you need to function when you're overseas. And you have USAID that has resources that could help villages with wells. You have Department of Agriculture, which can bring in, various resources. So the team leader is more of, the coordinator and diplomat. The team sergeant's just the big monster, the silverback gorilla. He's been there the longest. So all of these skills are in concert at all times, and you never know exactly how the mission turns. So sometimes you're more prominent when it is just a medical mission. We did them in the 90s in Kenya, taking doctors and vets because the government wouldn't service the villagers in the entire country. So you just accept the mission. This is your mission, and you plan for it over 3 days, and you just execute it until you come home.